Hi, I'm Lori Diner, the current president of the PARCA Auxiliary.
And I'm Diana Conti, the CEO of PARCA.
And we are here to tour the longtime and beloved PARCA property, Raji House.
We are so excited that the renovation is happening. This dream is coming true, and thanks to your donations, 5 people with developmental disabilities will have their forever home.
But we haven't seen the progress yet, so we thought we would bring the construction site to you. And not only that, we have a very special group of past PARCA presidents and a founder to help us tour Raji House today. Are you ready, ladies? Let's do this!
Yay! Raji House is named after a child of Ruth and Umang Gupta, whose generosity provided the means to turn the house into an out-of-home respite care program. But after many years, families came to have more need for in-home respite. So the greater priority became affordable housing for people with developmental disabilities. It's been our dream for a long time to make this conversion, and your donations have made this dream a reality. Thanks to you, we are well on our way to completing the transformation of this house. Living independently is the greatest dream that people with developmental disabilities have. I am so excited for all of you to see the progress we're making at Raji House. It's all been gutted, and it's been framed out, and it's truly becoming our vision of what we wanted to be for this home.
But Diana, we still have a ways to go.
We do have a ways to go, and that's why we need to now take it to the next stage, which once the bones are complete, we need to make this house a real home.
I love that. What makes a home? Furniture, rugs, paint, all the soft goods that make a house a true warm home.
And your donations are going to help us do that. Your donations are going to get this home completely ready for 5 wonderful people with developmental disabilities who will have their forever home. They will live their dream of being able to live independently.
My favorite part of the tour is seeing the beautiful rooms and all of the natural light in here.
I agree. Wow, this is going to be a great place to live.
Look at these incredible plans. The possibilities are endless.
Thank you for giving to Raji House. Let's make this house a home. Woo!
Good afternoon. Today we welcome our PARCA family, our entire PARCA family, including clients, their families, PARCA staff, our amazing auxiliary, volunteers, and of course, all of our PARCA donors. Speaking of staff, I would like to introduce a new staff member of the PARCA family, as some of you will be interacting with her in the future. Please welcome Dr. Candace Aurora, PARCA's new COO. Candace, we are so lucky to have you as part of our staff. All right. My name is Saranella Leone, and I am the current PARCA board president. I've been involved with PARCA on and off since the early 90s. PARCA captured my attention and then my heart. They've not been able to get rid of me since. For 70 years, PARCA has been the little engine that we have faced so many challenges, had to go through so many experiences, but we overcame everything, and now we are ready to really move forward in a big way. And we're going to talk about that tonight. We got through COVID, and you saw and if you watched our video before the show, before the chat, you saw two of the reasons that PARCA has been so successful. One is our amazing and incomparable auxiliary, and the other is a CEO who won't take no for an answer, will let nothing stand in her way, and goes ahead with dogged determination. So with that, I'm going to introduce Diana Conti, our CEO, and she's going to take over from here. I'll be back a little later in the chat.
Hi, everybody. There we go. Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight. And we're going to move then to can somebody bring up the PowerPoint? There you go. Okay. First of all, thank you for being here tonight. We really appreciate you coming to be with us. And I am very excited to be sharing with you our Daring to Dream initiative. The vision: people with developmental disabilities can truly live their best lives. Next slide. We came to this initiative through extraordinary and difficult times. There were obstacles beyond our control, and they created some unintended consequences. Probably many of us here tonight have experienced that in the last 3 years. So basically, the demands of the pandemic, combined with the ongoing limitations of a severely underfunded service delivery system, left us pretty exhausted. Dealing with COVID makes everything you do take a lot longer, as you probably all know. We had first priority, obviously, is the health and safety of our clients, and I'm happy to say they are all healthy and safe. You add to that ever-changing requirements and protocols, the changing nature of the pandemic, needing to keep adapting programs, and also the need to provide additional emotional support to our clients, and at times, additional emotional support to each other. All this led to a lot of staff burnout, and I can speak for myself, and I think some of my staff, that it is the deepest sense of burnout that I have experienced in my entire career. But the good news is we bounced back. We've been having difficulty hiring in a competitive job market because we cannot compete with wages from other companies. We had a few vacancies of people who did not choose to meet the mandatory requirement for vaccinations, and a few people who just moved on because they needed to make different choices in their lives. And this is primarily due to chronically low reimbursement rates. In 2018, the state of California completed a study of the rate system and concluded that it is underfunded. The service delivery system is underfunded by $1.8 billion each year. It's very complicated, and some programs are going to get increases and some others. However, there's been a big delay in implementing those rate increases, and we're currently getting about 15% of what the study says. So there's a lot going on legislatively about trying to speed that up, and that's very much a work in progress at this point. PARCA has an ongoing need to raise close to $100,000 each year to subsidize its programs. And we do that through the clothing donation program, grants from foundations, the amazing fundraising capabilities of our PARCA auxiliary, individual donations, events, and bequests. We're happy to say that all those efforts have enabled us to diversify our funding source so that state funding is only 20% of our income. Next slide. So all this led to utter exhaustion. And sometimes you're just so exhausted that you just don't have it in you to keep beating your head against a brick wall. And so you realize the only choice is to let go. And at first, that let go feels like giving up. But then you realize it's really a leap of faith. And then something magic happens. You can see the forest for the trees and the rich soil of the forest floor. Next slide. And when you do that, you can focus on opportunities instead of the obstacles. And remember that our roots are strong. So this initiative actually came out of a conversation with our board members at a board meeting. There was so much passion and dedication and commitment and great new ideas that I realized that we were ready to start moving more boldly on our long-term visions. We have the right team, and the time to do this is now. We remember that PARCA was started with no financial backing, and most community-based nonprofits are started this way. And for 70 years, PARCA has kept to its ironclad commitment to creating opportunities for people with developmental disabilities to live their best lives. Next slide. So the way we're going to do it is how we've always done it, start with a commitment and find a way. So for many years, PARCA has not been able to start new programs or expand the current ones because the reimbursement rates are so low that if we provide more services, we'll lose more money. We have excellent staff, but we need to make their wages more competitive in order to keep them. They are dedicated, they are committed, they are skillful. They always go above and beyond, and they are uniquely talented to make a huge difference in the lives of people with developmental disabilities, and we need to keep them. Programs that could fill current gaps are not included in programs reimbursed by the state, so it will require being innovative with finding other funding sources. But PARCA knows how to do this. We created REACH, Page Mill Court, Horizons, and Family Support Services with little or no state support. Next slide. So we're just going to go for it. And here are our goals. Create sustainability for current programs in an ongoing way. Increase affordable housing for people with developmental disabilities to live independently. Develop new programs to fill in the gaps in services, and some examples are residential programs for seniors, socialization and transition programs for teens 18 to 25, etc. There's a long list. And increased advocacy to improve the state service delivery system. So all these things working synergistically will help us get to the goal of expanded opportunities. Next slide. So in these slides, I'm just going to give you a very high level brief outline of how we're going to get to each of these goals. So for affordable housing, we'll research and assess potential housing opportunities. There's a lot of stuff happening at the state level now about affordable housing. There are some new laws that may decrease some of the red tape, and there's some potential funding sources and a lot of new innovative ways of looking how to get to the goal of increasing affordable housing. And we'll build on that. We'll explore partnerships with nonprofit housing development organizations. We already have one of these with Mid-Peninsula Housing for Horizons and Page Mill, and there's a lot of other really good nonprofit housing development organizations who are very interested in addressing the need for special needs people. We'll be collaborating with parent groups who are developing innovative ways to provide housing. They're really in the same place that PARCA's founders were, where they're parents who are standing back and saying, there's a need for my child and it's not being met. And I look out there and I don't see a way for it to be met. So they're banding together and they're figuring out for themselves. And there's some really creative and innovative things that are going on and some exciting opportunities there. And then, of course, we'll be identifying new funding sources such as grants and donations from various sources. Next slide. Endowments for each program. So we will develop an endowment structure for each PARCA program, and we'll have identified priorities and goals. We already have one of these in the REACH program. It was set up a long time ago by an anonymous donor. It needs to get bigger, but it's a good sample to start from. We'll establish a strong investment policy for endowments. We already have a very strong policy internally. We'll look at tweaking that as needed, and we'll also look at other options. There are several community foundations that have programs where they will manage these endowments. And then we're going to raise funds through planned giving, individual donations, and contributions from organizations. We've spent the last couple of years beefing up our organizational structure for fund development, and we are now ready to move forward more quickly. And all of this will create a steady stream of interest income, which will allow PARCA to have even less reliance on state funds. And then our programs will expand and staff can afford to stay. Next slide. More advocacy. So this is primarily going to be meaning a higher priority of staff time to work with local, regional, and statewide groups. Initially, this is mostly going to be my time, but it will also be time from some of my executive staff. Create strategic recommendations for improvement of the state service delivery system. So we'll be coordinating with all of the other advocacy groups, but we have some exciting opportunities locally. When the shutdown happened, Golden Gate Regional Center set up a weekly Zoom call with its service providers and its executive team. And those weekly Zooms are still continuing. It's 70 plus service providers who are coming in for each call. And at first it was all about COVID and the needs and everything that we were changing, how we're going to adapt, how we can work together, how we can get PPE, how we can get the resources we need. And over time, we have been able to expand that. So we're really taking a look at a lot of the aspects of what's not working in the service delivery system and figuring out ways to make it work better as we work collaboratively to make that happen. Then once we create those recommendations, it'll be our work to gain support for the changes, and we'll be coming to a lot of you to help us with that. Most of the changes will have to be implemented by the legislature. And for them to do that, they need to know that the public supports those changes. They need to know that their constituents want that. And that's where we're going to need your help to build that public support and have public opinion be really strong for it. Next slide. Fill in the gaps in services. So this is probably the longest term goal. Identify unmet needs and prioritize PARCA efforts. So for some new programs, it will be the right niche for PARCA. For other new programs, it may be a better niche for other organizations, and we'll support them in doing that. Bottom line is we want to make sure those services are out there for people. We'll be collaborating with other organizations because there's a lot of creativity and new ideas and efficiencies that can come from these kinds of collaborations. Develop program designs and identify non-state funding mechanisms. Next slide. And this will all lead to expanded opportunities for people with developmental disabilities. I like this slide because to me, I look at it and it says the sky is the limit. Next slide. This is my favorite quote. I use it all the time. It's from the anthropologist and author, Margaret Mead. Never doubt that a group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. PARCA has always worked this way. In spite of challenges, it has thrived for 70 years. And I will say, throughout my career in several fields, this always works. Next slide. We know this is an ambitious and long-term vision, but we're in it for the long haul. We are as confident as the group of parents who started PARCA in 1952 were. We have the right team in place. We're using proven strategies that we're good at. We will use an inclusive process with input from clients, families, donors, supporters, and potential funders. The need is real. When the need is real and people hang in there, change happens. We will get this done. Next slide. Okay, that's a lot of information all at once to absorb. And now we're going to move to the question and answer period. And I will please put your questions in the chat and I will pick this back to Saranella.
Thank you. That was a really interesting presentation full of new information. So as the questions are coming in, I have a couple questions for you. The first one is, you stated that what PARCA gets from the government is only 20% of what PARCA needs every year. I imagine most social nonprofits are probably in the same spot. Can you explain to us why that is?
Why it's only 20%?
Yes.
Well, you know, in the 60s, when the Lantern Act was passed, it created services for people with developmental disabilities that were entitled. However, it did not include an entitled funding stream. So what's happened over time is that the funding is not keeping up with the need. So they're just trying to stretch the dollars out further and further. And it hasn't been a big enough priority to really take a look at what it takes to provide what people truly need. And so it's going to take a lot of advocacy to make it a bigger priority. I think at the state level, there's a lot of competing needs for the budget dollars. And so we have to really be able to focus them on the fact that a little bit more money comparatively will make a huge difference in the lives of people with developmental disabilities. And I think it really can become a template for how to be more effective with a lot of health and human services. If you're going to make a commitment, you have to make the commitment all the way.
Thank you. That makes a lot of sense. You mentioned advocacy again just now, and you talked about it in your presentation. For those people who don't or aren't familiar with PARCA advocacy, can you summarize what it is that PARCA does now in advocacy?
Well, right now we're just working with different groups to support different initiatives that are there. I have been involved with, there's a kind of steering committee of the provider group for GGRC, and I have drafted some recommendations about how we focus advocacy, and that's something that will be presented soon to the full group. So together we can figure out those priorities. So that's how we're going to work in a consistent way locally, and hopefully that can spread out to other regional center groups.
Right.
And this is also something that PARCA has a history with. So, you know, PARCA was founded on this kind of advocacy. And it was founded by parents who looked around out there and said, you know, this isn't good enough. They were told in 1952 not to get attached to their children, not to bond with them, but to institutionalize them. And they revolutionized the world by coming together. They said, that's not good enough. We're going to love our children. We're going to take care of our children, and we're going to make sure they have choices in their lives. And so it's come so far since then.
It has.
Back then, people couldn't marry. They couldn't go to work. They couldn't go to regular school. And in some cases, they couldn't even choose what they wanted to have for dinner. And this is all the heart of PARCA. It's how it was started. It was started by volunteer parents who got together and said, we're going to find a way to make this happen. And they did. And everybody who's really been involved in PARCA and supported us along the way has had a huge difference in making that kind of receptivity in our communities, so that people are now welcomed and celebrated, and they can do all those things that seemed impossible in the 50s.
It's so important for PARCA is to have advocacy, and for every nonprofit. It's not been an easy way for PARCA, but in my 30 years of being involved, this is the best position I've ever seen PARCA in. And I know that if we put our minds to it, we can do it. So I have a question from Anonymous. What are ways that parents can get involved and learn more about housing projects?
Housing?
Housing projects.
Okay. So first, I was actually going to mention earlier, but I forgot it. We had some great successes this year in developing housing for independent living. So the remodel of Raji House to turn it into independent living is almost complete, and that is due to the amazing support of the and generosity of the PARCA Auxiliary. We're almost there, and we also developed a partnership with Ability Path. This is one of those collaborative partnerships where there are now 2 new co-housing programs in San Mateo. So I think, getting involved is ideas. Getting involved is, I think pretty soon we should start getting together people who are interested in this and talking about ways we can make this all happen. And then there will be certainly some fundraising down the road, and probably some volunteer opportunities as well.
Okay. Another question from an anonymous listener. Has the number of people with developmental disabilities increased, and does funding increase as the need increases? Or how is it determined how much money the state will give?
I don't think there's an easy answer to how that's determined. The number has certainly increased. I don't know what the number was in 1960s when the Lanterman Act passed, but it's now about 400,000 people. So there's a huge increase in numbers, and there is some increase that comes down the pike to develop, to try and address that. But we're so far behind in the way the service delivery system is funded that it doesn't even come close to it. So I've been in PARCA since the year 2000, and we got a rate cut in 2008. We got some of it back, I think, in 2018. There's a promise of more. We're so far behind the 8 ball that it's going to take a while to do something about that.
Well, thank you for answering that question, but I'm afraid our time is up. Want to thank everybody who's taken up their personal time to listen and participate with us. Thank you for joining us. This chat was meant to be an informative session, but if anything that was said touched you, touched your heart, we always welcome donations at www.parca.org. Happy
Thank
holidays.
you all. Let me just say I cannot thank you enough for your support, your enthusiasm, your donations, your heart. And together, we're all going to use that passion in our hearts to make these dreams a reality. And we're going to do it now. And we're going to stay focused on it so it happens in a way that we can all come together and celebrate soon. Thank you.
As I said, she's determined.
I have been called that before.
Yes, we thank you. We wish you the happiest of holidays. Stay safe, stay healthy, and thank you from PARCA.
Thank you.